Hey everyone, this is Sharon Blynn from Captain Marvel, and you're listening to the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture.
Oh, yeah!
TV.
Nice!
Movies.
Oh, I love the movies!
Comedy and more. From deep inside the Man Cave, your host, Elias.
Sharon, welcome to the cave.
Thank you for having me in the cave.
How are you? What's new with you?
Oh, this and that. I'm just cruising along, enjoying the ride of Captain Marvel and all those marvelous things that have been going on lately.
Yeah. You've been busy the last few years. You've done a lot of guest starring on hit TV shows, The Detour, Shameless, Body of Proof, and of course now Captain Marvel, and we will talk about that.
Yes.
But I want the listeners to get to know you a little bit more about you. Where are you originally from?
I was actually born in Florida and then New York City for 30 years. I consider myself a New Yorker. Still got my 917 phone number. Yeah, and that's definitely more my rhythm and vibe. And I'm out here in LA also.
Yeah. How was it growing up in New York City?
New York City is amazing, and it was pretty much after high school. So I more grew up, if you want to say, in Florida, and then did other life growing up, real growing up in New York City, and amazing. New York is my favorite city on the planet. Yeah. It's incredible.
Growing up in Florida, what were you into as a kid?
I have a twin sister and an older brother, and the three of us have the Blynn Kid Love Bubble, and we did a lot of things together, like playing sports on the street and watching cartoons and reading comic books in a friend of ours' garage on the next block over. So just really having fun and enjoying life, and I also am a nerd, so I loved school, and so that's kind of, maybe that's weird, but I don't know. I really enjoyed my classes.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. So while you were a kid growing up, did you have any did you know you wanted to get into the acting world? What did you want
to be?
No, actually,
I did. Funny. What do I want to be when I grow up? Let's start with, do I want to grow up? I don't know. Sometimes I don't know about that. But I actually didn't even consider acting ever. That was my sister's, actually. She blazed that trail for us, and she's still doing that as well in New York. My original idea when I went to college actually was to be what I called a psychiatric architect. And that was before the whole feng shui thing came into play. I wanted to basically design environments that were conducive of a healthy mental and emotional space. And one semester of chemistry kind of took med school out of the picture for me, because there was no way I was going to do that for 8 years or more. And then psychology, it whittled down eventually, and then I was left with just architecture, and I realized I didn't really have a passion for drawing like everyone else in the class. Just always had their sketchbooks out, and they were actually really good at it, and I was not. And my passion really all that time has always been music. And yeah, that's the other thing. Growing up, we played music. We took piano lessons, and I played in bands in junior high and high school and all different instruments and stuff. So music has always been a huge passion of mine. And so music and culture in college, I decided I wanted to find something that merged those two courses of study, and that was ethnomusicology. Okay. And I was at Barnard College, Columbia University, and they had a graduate department actually for that at Columbia University. So I designed my major in my third year to get a BA in ethnomusicology. And I was the first Barnard graduate with a BA in ethnomusicology.
What was some of the music that inspired you and made you fall in love with music?
We found jazz through WLRN-FM public radio in Miami, Florida. Oh, Len Pace and Alice Day were the two people that we connected with, and we had our own little jazz combo also. And starting with, my dad loves 50s music and stuff, so we grew up listening to all kinds of stuff from Fats Domino and Chuck Berry and all that kind of stuff to Loggins and Messina, and then, Chicago and the Spencer Davis Group, and, just all this full spectrum of music is just a huge part of our lives. So it's just always been there. And then we played music, and we played music together and in school. So it was always just a huge part of my life. And eventually part of my big dream was to have my own record company, actually, to be like sort of a Berry Gordy type artist development. And that's what I always did. Even I ended up working in the music business. I worked at Verve Records and Blue Note Records for some years, and not officially doing A&R, but always doing it, always in the clubs. And I knew all the music. I know all the musicians, and putting people together. Like, oh, you're a songwriter and you need some songs. You two need to connect. Just always kind of being a producer in that way, and helping people kind of develop their, not only their music and their career, their art, but also their career, and how to sort of be on the left and the right brain side of the music business. So that was my huge passion when I finished school in New York. I worked in the record companies, and I was fully immersed in the jazz scene in New York City every night till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow. Did you enjoy working there for that kind of music stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, that was a dream. My first day as an intern at Blue Note Records, I met Bruce Lundvall. I was so, wow, you're on LPs that I have in my house. You're that guy. And Bobby Watson was sitting in the guy's office that I was meeting with to interview for the gig. And yeah, insane. Just New York is the jazz mecca, and I was right there in it. And It was heaven. Yeah, truly.
So in October 2000, you were diagnosed with cancer, and you battled it for 3 years, and you beat it. And then you became the founder of Bald is Beautiful. How did all that begin to start?
That's the nutshell you just said. I in October 2000, or actually the summer of that year, I had left all that stuff about music business. Now I left the music business because I love music too much to work at a record company, and so I kind of decided to leave and figure out what else my music business life would look like. And a few months into that, I had some stomach problems that turned out to be ovarian cancer. And going through that experience, of course, that was just an abrupt life detour. And it's just all the different physical things and also the emotional things that come with it that happened, including losing hair, where I had long down the lower back. That was like my trademark hippie jazz chick hair. And now it's going to go away suddenly, very quickly. And forcing me to actually look at, like, all the emotions that came up around that, and why am I having these feelings about my hair? Why am I so attached to my hair? And feeling frustrated that while I'm trying to fight for my life, I have to worry about my hair to begin with. And then I had surgery and chemo, and it came back during chemo, and a couple more surgeries. I was trying to hold on to a part of my left ovary because it's still fully functional, even with just a cuticle's worth of tissue. And I didn't want to be in menopause at 29, so I was thinking all these different questions around femininity and womanhood and what makes me a woman, and the hair, and then the ovaries, and if I can't reproduce, biologically in a textbook, am I still a woman? All these questions came up that while I'm fighting to survive, I have to now feel all this other stuff around my physical being. And I decided I really wanted to do something about that. And I met a lot of other women who had a harder time with all of those things than the fact that they had cancer at all. And I just thought, there's got to be some way that we can societally support women in a visual way, so that we're not just everything we see around us is all these what become negative examples of what we don't have, which is kind of the thrust of advertising in general, right? With your life is incomplete without this product or whatever. But I wanted to put something out there that was positive, like, hey, you're going through this difficult thing, and having something associated with it that's positive, like, oh, I'll look like that model in the magazine or that woman on that TV show, and that's kind of a simplified version or explanation of what the spark in my brain was of putting an image out there where I could see myself. I didn't see myself in anything out there, even specifically movies and TV shows about cancer. The person was always kind of gray pallid and wearing an ill-fitting scarf or a wig that didn't look good, and it just looked, it was depressing, frankly. And I just thought, even if they're going to portray cancer, can't we put someone like that looks like who I am out there to say this is an option too? You can stand tall and be proud and not necessarily cover up. If you're going to cover up, have fun with it and be stylish still. So that was kind of all of those things kind of happening at the same time, where I was kind of like, all right, well, when I finish with this ovarian cancer thing, I'm going to do Bald is Beautiful.
Oh, wow.
And that's the longer version of where that all started.
How many people are in the organization?
Oh, well, it's just me, one woman
Just
army.
you?
Bald
Wow.
is Beautiful. I mean,
Wow.
it's not like you join in membership.
Yeah.
Or I guess you could also say it's millions of women strong
Yeah.
because of the number of people who go through not only cancer but also alopecia, for example, where hair loss is part of it, and where the images that we're given in society don't match up necessarily with what we're going through. And so it's just me and whoever else wants to kind of wear that mantle and be bald and proud, and
How did the battle and victory over cancer change your life?
Well, first of all, as you alluded to earlier in the interview, I was not at all interested in acting or anything in front of the camera. In fact, I was very much behind the scenes. I wore all black baggy men's clothes. I had my long hair. I was sort of kicking butt from behind the scenes and promoting other people into the limelight. And so being sort of on the other side of that now, and finding myself in a totally different way, embracing my femininity and my womanhood in a way that I hadn't before, finding it and embracing it in a deeper, more profound way, and then starting to do acting, which was the furthest possible thing from my mind. I mean, like I said, my twin sister Elias has been doing it for years, and that was always, that was sort of that twin yin yang thing. Like, I'm the introvert, she's the extrovert. I'm doing this kind of behind the scenes, but kicking butt marketing person, and she's out there on the stages, performing and being out there. And suddenly I'm entering that world, her world, really. And as twins, that was an interesting journey as well. And she gave me my first acting gig, technically. She put together a collective of women and did an ensemble piece called Off the Muff, which was her theatrical response to the vagina monologues.
Oh, wow.
And I was in the midst of chemo and writing, doing a lot of journaling about my ovaries, and she invited me to be a part of the group to share about my ovaries and my journey with my ovaries. Oh. And it was an extraordinary experience, very cathartic and terrifying. I white-knuckled it through the whole first performance. I was sitting we did it at a lounge, actually, not a traditional theater, and everyone was sitting in different places, and the audience was mixed in with us, and I was sitting on top of a bar, and someone else was standing on a table across the room, and we kind of ricocheted throughout the room with our monologues, first-person, present-tense monologues. And I kind of got the bug a little bit then. Like, I felt... I was, really frightened throughout the whole thing, but I got through it, but I felt good. And my sister encouraged me. She would have said, hey, go back to your day job, something. But she said, no, you've got something. You should do it. You should absolutely do it, and especially because it's part of something really important you believe in. So she really gave me that extra monozygoshan, approval button, like, do it, push.
Did you take any acting classes after that?
So I started doing immediately. I kind of dove in. I mean, I took some pictures. I had a mission statement. So I had like a black and white back when we still had black and white headshots, and a mission statement slapped on the back, and started pounding the pavement. And I did a couple theater things. I didn't actually take classes while I was still out in New York. I started doing that when I came out to LA. I did a few things in New York, some stage stuff, and also I got my SAG card through some work I did on two episodes of Sex and the City, which were amazing, and then one was a Third Watch TV show.
Wow. Wow.
And another one was a really small indie movie. They gave me a waiver because I was a female Hare Krishna, so I had the shaved head.
So
yeah.
So how did you end up getting the role of Soren on Captain Marvel?
That is just divine and wonderful. I don't want to say luck, because it's just I've been really going at this since 2002 is when I really started doing this, pursuing this, and I've been out there. I've been in classes. I take all kinds of different workshops and auditioning, and this was I don't want to say just another audition, but this was an audition. I got the audition. I went in there, and I guess I nailed it. or nailed it enough to get a director's session, and we had a great vibe together, and I was given the role, and
Wow. So
very happily, very.
I know you mentioned that when you were young, you read comic books and stuff like that. So I assume you were a huge fan of superhero movies.
Huge, Marvel in particular. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm a Marvel fan. If we had to say Marvel versus DC, I'm definitely in the Marvel camp.
Who are some of your favorite characters that you enjoyed reading?
I loved X-Men and Silver Surfer for whatever weird. I think because of maybe it's the Florida thing. I don't know. The whole idea of just surfing through the skies was just awesome to me. And also, I'm a huge fan of Incredible Hulk. And I loved the cartoon, and also I had a little bit of a crush on Bill Bixby, so I liked the TV show too. So those would have to be, and I loved Spider-Man too, comics and cartoon, like all of them. Yeah. But we were also like Looney Tune heads. We're total Warner Brothers Looney Tune heads completely. Still, of course. But those would be my Marvel faves.
So when you got the call that you got the part in the movie, like, what was your reaction? Like, could you believe it? Like.
No, actually, I literally could not believe it. I kept asking my manager, Kat. I kept saying, "Is this real? Is this real? It's not going away." She had to really. We spent like about a half hour on the phone, with her assuring me that this was not like putting it like you're on hold for it, and they could decide in a week. And she's like, "No, you booked it. It's yours." And it took about a half hour of convincing. And I was in the gym. I had just worked out, so I was in the gym all by myself, thankfully, because I was pacing back and forth, laughing, crying. I was having a total emotional release of, I don't know, all of it coming out. I was just overjoyed. Yeah.
So you play Soren. How would you describe her? What is she like?
Soren is, she's a very strong woman and patient. And she also is very committed to the well-being of her community, and loves deeply. Yeah.
So how did you prepare for the role?
I was given a pretty limited amount of information in terms of what the scenario was and what I was going to be doing. And of course, as you probably have heard over the years, they're very specific. Like, they don't get, I never saw the whole script. I only saw the pages that I was working on. So I thought about, in terms of this scenario, and it's hard. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but it's basically based on what the scenario was. I sort of had to connect with what it might feel like to not know if someone is alive or dead that you care about, and to be separated from that person and not know what's going to happen to you. So I guess my cancer experience in a lot of ways informed, the uncertainty of things and the fickleness of life and the fleeting nature of it. And so fighting for it, and, so survival, she's a survivor too. So just having all that passion and survival instincts and compassion, and also wanting to learn from the situation and how can I, transcend my circumstances. So a lot of my cancer journey actually was very much infused into what I brought to Soren in the role. And of course, I just would depend then on the directors if I was executing their vision, and if they had a different direction, I would just follow that. But I brought all that with me to the set.
So when you were filming your scenes, how long did it take you to put on like all your makeup and things like that to prepare for your scenes?
The makeup was about 2 hours.
Wow.
We got it down to, I think, by the end it was an hour and a half, and it was the two, Chris and Mike were the main two, my guys, my makeup guys, and we bonded very quickly. It was pretty awesome. And there was another woman named Carly who subbed in on, we shot in Baton Rouge some of the time, and she was there for that. But yeah, it was just 2 hours. It wasn't as difficult as I'd never done anything like this before, so even 2 hours seems long, but it kind of flew by because we had a lot of fun.
So how would you describe your experience of filming Captain Marvel?
Extraordinary. Just dream come true. I was over the moon every single time. Even sometimes the makeup guy, "Oh, you're going to get tired of us by the second or third time." And I came in ear to ear grin, like, "All right, guys, let's do this," And everyone on set was extremely warm and wonderful to work with. For everyone from the lens techs to the makeup to then, Bree and Ben Mendelsohn, who's my husband, Talos, and Sam Jackson, and just everybody was just a blast to work with. And it's in a situation where, for me, again, this is the biggest thing I had done. Although, I worked with William H. Macy and on Shameless, and who's also I'm a huge fan. So, walking into that situation, am I going to be intimidated? I don't know. Yeah. But just when you get on set, everybody's just there to work and tell story, and that's how it was here. And Ryan, Anna Bowden and Ryan Fleck the directors were just amazing to work with. So the whole environment on the set was very warm, and I feel like everyone on there was probably a Marvel fan too. I don't know. The energy was very positive and supportive, and it was great.
Do you have like a funny story that happened on the set while filming Captain Marvel?
Yeah, actually, just as soon as you said it, the first thing that popped in my mind, because this came up later, now that the movie's been out and people have seen it, they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that was you." I had fantasies of, I just wanted to be in full garb and just go like grocery shopping. Like just, that scenario where there's the elevator music playing and I'm just standing on the line at the grocery store in full makeup, and just like, because before the Skrulls were even announced, they didn't want anyone to even see us. So on set, if we had to move between sound stages or somewhere, we had these capes that we wore and with a hood and everything. They just, so anyone on the lot who wasn't involved in the movie could not see what we looked like. And there was one day where I went to a bathroom that was off the sound stage that was a little further away. And so, the wardrobe person helps me get things off it was like 5 layers of clothing, so I couldn't actually do it myself. And then I go in the bathroom and then I get part of it on and I'm sort of adjusting myself and I see movement. I'm in the mirror and I see the movement out of the side of my eye, and this other person who was not on our set walked into the bathroom, and we locked eyes for what felt like 5 seconds of just, because the makeup looks so real, and this woman is looking at me at the entranceway to the bathroom like, "Where am I?" And I look at her and I'm stunned too, because I'm like, "Oh my God, someone saw me. That's not good." And then I just bust out laughing and I like wave at her like, "Hey!" And she just cracked up, and then I left and I put on my cape and I was like, "Oh my God, that's hilarious." And then that's when I started having these ideas like, God, it would be great to just go do everyday stuff, like drive and go to the DMV, stand in line, like just and great. Record people's reactions, like kind of Deadpool style, because I like that's something he would do, like just that would be so fun.
So you've been in the acting world for a few years now. What's some advice that you give to somebody that comes up to you and say, "You know what, I want to get into acting"?
Just one? God, there's so much, I would say. Person. The first thing I would actually say is just to be very clear about why they want to do acting. Like making sure that it's not, people want to be famous and do that sort of thing. And if that's the goal, they're free to pursue it just to do that. But I feel like there's so much no in the industry. There's so many things that 99.9% of us actors go through, that if you're not really fully committed to do what it is that actors do, which is telling story and exploring different facets of emotional life that humanity goes through and conveying that, if you don't have that kind of part of what's going on, if you just want to be famous, the amount of no's could be devastating, and it can be anyway, even if you know exactly why you want to be an actor. So I would say definitely coming from as grounded a place as you can as far as why you're doing it, because it takes a lot of fortitude and tenacity to continue to do it, and passion for what you're doing. And that's true of any career path, really, anything. Is just really be committed to the nature of it, of what it is you're doing and why you're doing it, and having a sense of purpose about it. I think people who don't have a sense of life purpose in general can find any pursuit really challenging. So I think having a sense of purpose is important. And the other thing I would say is just to study.
Yeah.
and not in the traditional necessarily like, oh, Meisner this or that. I didn't do all that. Because I came into it much later. Not to say those things aren't valuable, but anything that is sort of like a gym. It's like going to the gym. So anything that works out those muscles where you discover new things and open new channels, and anything that gives you that sort of practice at something where it's not just something you just kind of put little thought in. You want to put the same kind of thought you put in care you put into any pursuit, including your own health, for example, and working out and other things. It's that same kind of commitment and consistency and practice.
Interesting. Now you said study. Was there a certain actress or actor that had an influence on you, and then you went back and you watched their work?
I didn't like Chalk Talk. Yeah, let's go back and watch every Meryl Streep and Viola Davis and Angela Bassett movie ever done. And there's so many different actors that inspire me in different ways for their quote unquote craft. Like an actress, for example, like Mila Jovovich. I've always admired her because she takes really bold and edgy roles that are so interesting. Like Fifth Element is one of my favorite all-time movies ever. And that's one of the first things I ever knew. I didn't know her as a model before that. I only knew her from that movie first. And all these other things that she's done after that just always are really, I don't want to say risky, but they're edgy and they're different. And she infuses so much emotion and vulnerability and into whatever she's doing that it just brings it to life in new ways. And it's always about telling a story, and the same goes for everyone that anyone would ever say. Of course, Meryl Streep and other actors like that. But there's so many. There's too many to name. But I definitely, in terms of what the final result is, and it's stuff that I look at in movies that I watch. Okay. If I see someone acting, if I see the acting, then I'm like, oh, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like being truthful and authentic in every moment. That then we don't see any acting. Then we're in the story with that person and those people.
Do you have a dream role that you want to play someday, or do you think Captain Marvel being in that movie was the dream role?
Well, that's one kind of dream role. Yeah. I would like to definitely do something of a different nature where I'm like maybe human, where I'm not so green. It's not easy being green, but. I would, yes. I don't know if it's a role in particular, but anything that is part of, there's so many great women helms production companies and studios that are production companies, that are doing these. Like there's these limited series, like Big Little Lies and Sinner that was on, and True Detective, and then there's Black Mirror. There's so much great storytelling actually going on. So. I love digging into a rich, nuanced, layered role that I can just really sink my emotional teeth into and explore. So it's not like a particular role or show. I mean, I named some shows, but I really want to explore something that's really, would give me a lot to work with and play with, and tell a great story.
So what's next for you for 2019?
For 2 hours. And can you believe we're almost halfway through?
I know.
It's insane to me to think that. Nothing I can say in detail now, but it's sort of like, that's sort of this thing where people say, oh, you've done a Marvel movie now. You're going to be in everything now. Auditioning and continuing with my classes and seeing what happens. It's
great.
Sort of unfolding as we speak.
There you go. So lastly, how can the listeners find you on social media?
On social media, on Instagram, I am at bald.is.beautiful. And there's also a Bald is Beautiful Facebook group. So it's facebook.com/baldisbeautifulblog. And Twitter is at Sharon Blynn. I'm not so much on Twitter, but if I post on Instagram, I automatically link it to Twitter, so it's there. But so I guess Instagram would be the main way on the Facebook page. Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming on, Sharon.
And the website, of course, the baldisbeautiful.org is my website, and that's of course there for everyone. And it's there for inspiration, information, resource, a laugh or two, hopefully. And anyone who sees the website and thinks know someone who might need that website and the stories that I share and the resources, that's what I encourage people to do with the actual website, is to share it with anyone they think could use it.
All right. Thank you, Sharon. This was great. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, man.